Hi all, it's Isaac from Child of Laughter, and welcome to the School of Healing. And today we're going to talk about the Greek word sozo. Now, if you don't know, sozo actually means it's a bit of an all-encompassing term, and it means salvation, or it means saved, healing, healed, or heal. So the same, and as well as to preserve, to deliver, to save, to rescue, to heal, right? So one word encompasses all this. And how can one word encompass all these things? And that's because the atonement of Jesus Christ, the atonement that he made for us, it encompasses all of these things. When the Lord saved us, he healed us. By his stripes we are healed. So let's go to Romans 10. And then it says here, starting with 9, if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That sounds good. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. Now, we just talked about how saved there can also mean healed, because it's the same word used for both. So let's replace this. And we know that this is talking about salvation. But if we want to narrow in on a specific aspect of salvation, the healing aspect, let's change the wording here, because it's the same word. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are healed. So now you start to understand a little bit more about how you get your healing. You believe it in your heart. How do you believe it in your heart? Well, Paul goes on to say. He goes on to say, and how can they hear, and how can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? So we see here that a major part of believing in your heart is first hearing the message. So let's continue. 16. But not all the Israelites accepted the good news, for Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed our message? Consequently, faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word about Christ. That is right there in this chapter about salvation. Isaiah 16, he quotes in 10:16, he quotes Isaiah 53. And what is the significance of Isaiah 53? That is the great chapter about the suffering servant who will bear the iniquities of people. He will take away their iniquities. And he will also bear, and actually this is mentioned before even the bearing of iniquities is mentioned. He is going to bear the diseases, the chole, and he's going to bear the pains of all that would put their trust in him. Surely he bore our diseases and carried away our pains. So he's literally quoting that in this message about salvation. So, okay. I believe what the Lord is saying with the fact that this one word can mean both saved and healed. It's very simple. He's saying that salvation includes healing, physical healing. So let's go to Matthew 9:21. Matthew 9:21. Matthew 9:21. She said to herself, if I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. Sozo. Jesus turned and saw her. Take heart, daughter, he said. Your faith has healed you. Sozo. and the woman was healed at that moment. Another form of sozo. Okay. Mark 6:52. It says here, sorry, not Mark 6:52, Mark 6:56. And wherever he went, into villages, towns, or countryside, they placed the sick in the marketplaces. They begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. Another form of sozo. All right. Mark 10:52. Go, said Jesus, your faith has healed you. Sozo. All right. What am I doing? I'm just trying to show you that that same word was used for healing. Now let's go to where that word is used for saved. Matthew 1:21. It says here, she will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. And that word there is sozo. So now you're starting to get an idea of this all-encompassing term, saved. This word for saved is deeper than I've been taught growing up, and maybe deeper than what you may have been taught. It's more encompassing than what we may have at first believed. So let's go to Acts 14:9. It says here, in Lystra, starting with 8, in Lystra there sat a man who was lame. He had been that way from birth and had never walked. He listened to Paul as he was speaking. Paul looked directly at him, saw that he had faith to be healed, sozo again, and called out, stand up on your feet. At that moment, the man jumped up and began to walk. So Paul is preaching the gospel. When this man hears it, he has faith to be sozo, saved or healed. Here they translate it healed because he's a lame man that ends up walking. So what was the message Paul was preaching that this man was able to be healed? It's that all-encompassing salvation. That salvation that includes the spiritual salvation, thank God, glory to God for that, but also includes the physical aspect of salvation. That's what Paul was preaching. And that's why when this man heard the message, faith grew in his heart for healing. He said, I don't have to stay like this all my life. And Paul saw that, and by the Spirit of God, Paul said, stand up on your feet. So, yeah, I have a little bit more time. So I just wanted to talk about how the Lord purchased healing for us. And as I just want to encourage you, don't give up. Keep listening to the message of healing. Keep learning, because not only are you going to be healed if you're seeking healing, but then either you're seeking healing for yourself or you're going to go out and be able to minister healing to others with this knowledge. Or both. For me, it was both. I needed healing for my physical body, and now I want to take that message to everyone that will listen. So that's all we're doing. We're learning about everything that the Lord purchased for us. And I feel like we focused a lot on the spiritual salvation, and thank God for that. But it's not two different salvations. It's the same salvation that encompasses spiritual healing and physical healing. You understand that? So that's what we're doing here with this series. And I would love to connect with y'all and chat about healing or whatever else. So yeah, see you, and go in grace. Love.